Protect your future from a possession conviction. This is Christina Williams with Just Criminal Law.
And David Mann, legal storytelling specialist. Well, here's a legal story from the world that you're in all the time. Say somebody is in Colorado where marijuana has been legal for a long time, and they just aren't sort of thinking that they're crossing the state line in a car and now coming into Wyoming where it's not legal. And for some reason, they get pulled over, and it is discovered that they have this possession of marijuana in their car, and they're sort of freaking out. So what can happen at that point?
Well, they're definitely not wrong to be freaking out. That is, they inadvertently came into Wyoming, and it is confusing. The states where marijuana is legal across the United States, it's from West Coast to East Coast. And so that is a very common scenario that we come upon. And what they need to do is obviously get an attorney and try to protect that record. It really does make a difference to people, especially those people who are, coming through and they like the job that they have. They like the career that they're on, that path that they're on, and they want to not have to explain a criminal conviction, or, they're investing in their future as a student. Those are the people that are really, like you said, freaking out about this criminal ticket, this criminal charge.
Yeah, because they've got a career, they've got they've got a future career that they're invested in. If they're a college student looking at the future, and they probably never considered that this is going to impact their career. So maybe we just use for an example, say somebody is a high school teacher, right? And this happens to them. So they're not a bad person, they're not trying to sell the drugs and all that stuff. They just made an honest mistake. How is that going to affect their future for a teacher, possibly?
Well, teachers are a profession where they have to be fingerprinted. They have to submit to a background check. And so, maybe they're just starting out their career, and, they might want to move someday. They might want to switch schools, go from one school district to another school district. And they're going to have to, again, submit to that background check. Sometimes even as a retired teacher, they just want to be a substitute teacher. And again, they have to go get fingerprinted. They have to get that background check. And, they may think, okay, well, I'm tenured, I'm at this school, I never plan on moving. I mean, you just don't know what the future holds. You may have to move, you may want to move. All of a sudden you have grandchildren, in the sunny state of Arizona, and, you want to teach down there for your last decade of teaching or whatever the case may be. You don't want to have this in the back of your mind, putting a damper on your plans to do something different.
Yeah, okay. So let's maybe pick another profession. So somebody who's in the medical profession, say a nurse, how could it affect them?
Sure. I mean, nurses are under this, very strict board that they have to answer to. And so with these type of cases, when they get a conviction, they have to, it's mandatory to report that. And so they find themselves all of a sudden, there's an open file, they're on probation, they're submitting to drug tests, and, it's just generally damaged their reputation. And so it is a big deal to someone who's invested so much into their career and their education in the nursing field.
Okay, so then let's jump to the one who doesn't have a career yet but is looking at one. Say it's a college student looking at grad school, and let's just choose the legal profession. They're looking at law school. How could it affect them?
Sure. I mean, to be a lawyer, for instance, they're going to have to disclose this conviction on not only their application to take the bar exam, but once they pass it, their application to the bar to become a member, to become licensed and practice law. And so, and then there's the nice positions that they have the potential to walk into, say, as a judge's clerk, or maybe they want to start out their career as a prosecutor. Again, these background checks are going to show this criminal conviction, and so they may be in a situation where, it's between them and another candidate, and, they lose the position and they wonder, was it because of this disclosure that they had to make, this conviction on their record? Is that what cost them, that opportunity? And it's always in the back of their mind. And even if you're not a professional, you just don't know what your future holds. Any schooling, any investment in your future, you don't want this to come back and bite you later, when really you could take care of it and fight it and keep it off your record.
Yeah, but probably you, the person that this happens to, can't fight it yourself. You're going to need an attorney to do that. And what kind of things would you do with this case, with your firm, to make this go away and not be a problem for this person?
Sure. I mean, we need to look at what the officer did. How did he conduct the investigation? How did he conduct himself? And, what even led to the person being the possession ticket being given? Why did the officer find the marijuana? So we look at that. We also look at, sometimes they'll have a drug dog respond. And in Wyoming, let's be real, it's not always, that car's not always around the corner. And sometimes that takes too long. So we look at what happened that was done incorrectly, and we can just get the case completely dismissed. And then if that's not the case, we look at whether or not they should be considered for some sort of diversion program. That is once in a lifetime kind of opportunity where we can help them set themselves up to maybe, in fact, admit, yes, they did have the marijuana and plead guilty, but then have the case dismissed once they're able to complete certain requirements of the court. And that's something that, your attorney needs to ask the court for, and sometimes we even have to get the permission of the prosecutor. So we can negotiate that deal in order to keep the record clean as well.
All right. Well, if someone finds themselves in this unfortunate situation, they need a lawyer to call. How do they get in touch with you?
We'll include a link in the description where they can call, text, or chat with a member of my team anytime, day or night. Here at Just Criminal Law, we know you only get one shot at justice, so make yours count.